Well, we kicked off our third arc in Season 4 of Young Justice. And as many of you know, this season is focusing on some of the original team, and this time around, it's Zatanna. But it's not just Zatanna. She has a whole group of new proteges that she's currently training to be future stars of Earth 16. Each one of these characters is pretty unique, so I thought we could take a couple of minutes to break each one of them down, talk about some of their history with the show, and maybe where they're going with this roster of magic-using heroes. Now, before we dive in though, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell for all the updates. Also, the big giveaway. We're going to give away a PlayStation 5 at 25,000 subscribers. All you need to do to get in on the giveaway is be a subscriber and leave us a comment. Also, while you're at it, make sure you check out that free week of Skillshare down below. It's an awesome way to develop all of your superhero skills for that never-ending war on crime, all while not diving too deep into your pockets. Plus, it does help the channel, so we really appreciate it. Well, we are into the third and possibly most magical arc of Young Justice Season 4. We were introduced to several new characters this week, and I thought it would be a great time to break down what's going on and who all these new faces are. Now, clearly, Greg Weisman and team are expanding the mythos around the magical world of Earth 16. I do believe there's a couple of mysteries that have not been revealed yet, so this video was made right after the episode Ondu, so we may have some additional answers to some of the questions we pose here before the end of the season. Now remember, Earth 16 is a bit different in many ways in the comics, and probably none more so, at least so far, than when it comes to magic. Things like Clarion being a Lord of Chaos, which he's not in the comics, is distinctly different. Greg and Brandon's team have their own narrative for these characters, and these are versions or what somebody else would call variants of those comic heroes. Just always keep that in mind because there will be slight differences as you move through some of these characters and compare them to their comic book counterpart. Now the first character, and probably the one we're most acquainted with so far, is Tracy 13, also known as Tracy Thirsto. She's been in the comics for quite a long time. She actually made her first appearance in Superman number 189 back in February of 2003. Now, in the world of Young Justice, she appears to have multiple avenues to perform magic. She can manipulate bad luck, and although it can cause unintentional issues to herself and other people when it spirals out of control, it is a very effective form of magical energy. Now, one of the things we saw in this latest episode was she was able to tune into the magic of the city. Urban magic is what Zatanna called it in the show. This is very similar to the power she has in the comics, but I think for the purposes of Earth 16, they are niching her down a little more with the Hex bad luck side of her magical powers. Now, we were teased with her a little bit last year, but we really didn't get to know her like we are now, and it should be pretty interesting where they take the character. There are a couple things that did get me thinking. In the comics, she has that pet iguana. I would keep a close eye on that. I also wanted to point out that in the comics and in the show, she's actually the girlfriend of Jaime Reyes, aka the Blue Beetle. So I have to wonder if he will show up somewhere during this arc. Now, the second new character we got in this episode was Khalid Nassour. And he is quite a bit different from his comic book counterpart, but also a very recognizable name from the books. His powers appear to be somewhat plant or nature oriented. As we get more episodes, that might become more apparent. But I did notice a lot of green energy with his magic, and most of it seemed to affect things like trees and plants. Now in the comics, he has a much more recognizable name. Dr. Fate. That's right, we might have our replacement for Zatanna in the helmet. Now in the comics, he made his first appearance in Convergence Aquaman number 2 back in July of 2015. He was an Egyptian-American med student about to kick off his education, but he finds the Helmet of Fate and eventually becomes the new Dr. Fate in the DC Comics universe. He also has a pretty interesting and mentor-type relationship with Kent Nelson in the books, so if he does take over the role of Dr. Fate, I do wonder if Zatanna or Zatanna could play that part. We'll have to wait and see. Now the most interesting member of her squad though had to be by far Mary Bromfield. Now, if you don't know who she is, she's actually Billy Batson's best friend in the comics. She also goes by the superhero name Mary Marvel. Now, on Earth 16, she was known as a different character. That would be Sergeant Marvel. Remember, Billy Batson turned into Captain Marvel, and she's a variation of that character. She was actually a member of the team. She became a hero sometime after July 2010, and her designation was B-15. She joined the team in 2013, but left prior to 2015, at least as Sergeant Marvel. This would put her on the team around the same time as Jason Todd. Now, clearly, she is refining her magical skills with Zatanna, and also something bad happens and we should hopefully find out more about as the season progresses. I have to say, I love how her magic invokes the gods of the Shazam mythos, and it really is a neat and great way to repackage that same mythology in a totally new way. Plus, the integration of ley lines as an element to her power gives it a really unique and interesting power set. I am very curious how the rest of the Shazam gods will play into her powers, and more so the interesting ways the creative team can manifest those various abilities that they could grant her. I also do have to wonder if we get a storyline letting us know what happened during the time she was with the team before. She mentioned she grew out of that stage, but did she actually grow out of being Sergeant Marvel? Because this would mean Billy is actually too old now to be Captain Marvel. This is something hopefully we find out during the story arc. Now, quite honestly, there is some interesting background when it comes to the Marvel family and Young Justice. So if you want to explore that, leave a comment down below, and if people would like me to take a deep dive into the Marvel Shazam family on Earth 16, I would love to. Short version is, I think we missed out on something pretty cool. Now, obviously, we have quite a few more episodes in the Zatanna magical arc of this season of Young Justice. At least the title of the next episode is Nomadi Sur, or Demon Rise, which seems to indicate we're going to get some Etrigan, but we'll have to wait and see. So, what do you guys think? How do you feel about these three magical characters being a much bigger part of Earth 16 and the future of Young Justice? And out of the three characters, which one is your favorite? Quite honestly, I'm going to have to go with Mary Bromfield. I love the Captain Marvel family, and to see her come back to life on this show, especially with a history that we haven't talked about, was something pretty cool. Tell me what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you press like, click subscribe, and if you don't ring that bell, you're not going to get any updates. Peace.